today I'm talking with my mom, Cami Cameron. She is a photographer, and recently we've done a lot of senior pictures, so we're going to talk about photography and all the things that go into making great pictures. So how long have you been taking pictures for?
Hi, Eleanor. Thank you for having me today. I started photography back when my son was probably about 6 months old. I was taking him to Sears and Penny's and places that took pictures, and I thought, I could do this. So I always had an interest in photography, so I just started reading and researching, and I took a lot of pictures of him and just practiced and slowly got better. But that was 20 years ago. So I've been at this a long time. Back in the film days is when I started, and then it has evolved. And
Do you like that it evolved into what it is now, or would you prefer the film days?
I was very hesitant to change from what was easy in the film world, but it was very hard to learn the film ways, where you had to learn your film speed, and your lenses were complicated, and there was a lot more into it, but it also made me a better photographer because I had to learn the old school ways, and digital is just a lot simpler, and you can see what you took. You can see the picture, and you know exactly what you need to do to change it. But I do think it made me a better photographer.
When was your first interest in photography? Were you a little girl growing up wanting to take pictures, or? Because I've been around photography all my life with you being my mom, and it's always kind of been interesting to me. I got a little camera when I was little, and I love taking pictures with it. So when did you get your start?
Well, I always knew that I loved the camera, and I liked being in front of the camera, and I liked being behind the camera. And my mother had pretty much zero interest in a camera, and that always kind of bothered me. I did not understand why she wasn't taking pictures, and she would be out of film, or she would her battery would be dead, or but I was maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old, and I remember setting my Barbies up for family pictures. I remember posing them for pictures with her camera with a dead battery. I remember my dolls. I would pose them holding bottles. I would also set things up to take pictures of, like I was selling it. I might get some cans of my mom's and try to make a pretty bowl with some cans and some fruit. So I definitely had the urge early on to be a photographer.
So what would be your favorite thing to take pictures of? Like, what age group, or is it just like inanimate objects or animals?
Well, I definitely have my favorites, and I have my favorite people, and I have my favorite things that I do, but as far as to pinpoint, do I like newborns versus senior pictures versus weddings? Not really. I would say I like to do a wide realm of it all, and I like to dabble in it all, because that way it never gets old. It's something new all the time, and actually the people make it what it is. If I run across somebody who's a lot of fun, a lot of good, positive energy, it just makes your job, just like any job, more fun and more alive, more energy. And if you can get that to come through in your subjects, how they're feeling, their emotions, you know, you end up with a lot better pictures if you can really truly capture inner and outer beauty. But as far as like weddings, I've kind of slowed down on doing those. I don't do those too much anymore, but back in the early days, that's what I mainly did. I focused on that. I would try to do, 2 of those a month or 3, as many as I could do. It was very hectic. I don't know. I always think that I'd like to go back to doing more of those, but I'm just not sure. But as of right now, I just like to dabble in all of it.
So where's your favorite spot to take pictures?
Oh gosh. Well, I like, it's definitely not the studio. I know that. I get bored inside and I get bored with artificial light. I know that I love to do any natural light outside. As far as where are some of my favorite places? Well, of course, who doesn't love the beach? I love to do beach pictures. I love to travel. I love to see new things and to capture new things. So that's always fun and fascinating to me. Recently, I went to Arizona and took pictures of my sister and her family. And I don't know, that was fun. It was mountains, palm trees, and cactus. And it was very hot, but it wasn't terrible. Portraits are always a challenge with kids, and when you have the elements of the world, like people to deal with in your pictures, that people walking by or cars, and then you have your wind you're dealing with, or too hot or too cold. Anyway, that makes for a challenge. But around here, in Clark County, Missouri, Northeast Missouri, I don't know. My favorites are probably sunset pictures, maybe on a dirt road.
Yeah, I really we did a couple sessions over the summer, and we're still doing some for my senior year. But my favorite pictures we've taken are probably the ones in a sunflower patch, because it was outside, it's bright, and it just adds a lot of character to your portraits and everything. What's the most time-consuming thing?
Oh, I know that. Definitely newborns. Newborn photography. So when you're taking pictures of a newborn, newborns sleep, they eat, and they go to the bathroom. So they fuss, and I do enjoy them, but you're talking hours. You're probably talking 4 hours for a newborn session, and you have to wait for their eyes to be open. You have to wait for them to be fed. So, that could take 20 minutes if they get hungry. They eat every 2 hours. They don't like to have their clothes changed or their clothes off. They want to be warm, cozy, snuggly, and I would say definitely they are the most challenging, but also they're rewarding too, because who doesn't love to snuggle a baby, right?
What's your favorite part about photography?
Well, I guess one of my favorite parts is that I have grown a clientele that keeps coming back year after year, and I've grown attached to them, and they've grown attached to me, and I have enjoyed watching them grow up. last year was the first year, I guess 2 years ago. I had a mom and dad. It was a maternity session, and then I watched that baby grow up, and I did his senior pictures, so that was very rewarding. That was Matt and Aaron Gutting. They were one of my very first maternity sessions, and I got to watch Logan, Landon, and Lauren. I mean, I watched them grow up, and just anyway. So I guess I would say that's pretty rewarding, and you got pictures of the baby inside the belly, and you got to watch everybody age, and you got to watch all of the little milestones along the way, and these people come back every year, and you just get to see their families grow. So I think that's very rewarding.
Do you have any tips you'd like to share before we go?
Oh, I have so many tips. First of all, I think that people need to realize that Pinterest is something that is a source and a good spot for ideas, but I think people need to be realistic when they pick out what they want their family pictures to look like. So many times I get people that they say, oh, I want to look like this, or I want our pictures to look like this. I ran into that tonight, and just because you see a picture doesn't mean that is what it's going to look like. I can try my best, but I honestly feel like I do my best work, and people need to realize that, photographers are part artists too, and that, it's good to have Pinterest to get some good ideas, and to kind of get a look and a feel that you're after. But if you want a true photographer's best insight and best talent, you need to be able to
be your true self.
Yeah, you need to be able to, I need to be able to be free with whatever I'm trying to capture, and not, you're putting me in a box whenever, you want something specific. Like, I want my picture to look like this, where I'm specifically holding the basketball like this, and the lighting was this, and so I've got to spend extra time and try to create that light, create that angle, create that, whereas my way of doing things might have been better, and I might have been able to be more creative without being placed in a box. Another thing that people need to realize too, when they're wanting great portraits, they need to be realistic with time of year. I love to do pictures. I would say my favorite time, the best time of year, is probably May and June to do pictures, for several reasons. And whenever you sign your family up to do fall pictures, keep in mind the age of your children, because October can be a vicious month with, cold wind. It can freeze, it can sleet. There's a lot that can happen in October, and that wind can be pretty brutal, especially with little kids. They aren't going to sit there and hold still, be quiet, and smile with the wind and it being cold. So people need to keep that in mind. Just try to book your pictures early if you've got a small family.
Well, thank you today for joining me on my podcast, Cami. I had a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Anytime.